Welcome to the lecture on sustainable development. In this lecture, we will study the concept of sustainable development of society, the main indicators and contradictions of sustainable development. In the period of development in active growth of industry, the main task for humanity was only result and progress. It doesn't matter how it is achieved and what consequences it may have. However, at the time it has come to realize that the impact of people on nature reached a boundary beyond which the possibilities of self-recovery of the environment will be lost and resources will soon be exhausted. In this picture, you can see the scenario of world development presented in the Limits to Growth book in 1972. As we can see, changes are expected in many areas, including the amount of resources, pollution, population, and other variables. Since this is just a model, and the model doesn't include the financial system as it works today, it cannot be expected to be exactly right. But it gives the idea that we can expect many interrelated effects that become more significant at the time. And in this picture, you can see a comparison of the trend predicted by the study of 1972 and the observed trend. Based on these forecasts, we can say that the current way of development will lead to a crisis. Already today, they actively use the resource of future generations, doing nothing for its preservation and multiplication. This brings us to the term sustainable development. For the first time, it was mentioned in 1987 in the documents Our Common Future of the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development. Sustainable development is development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Consequently, the current generation should not use natural resources as if they all belong to them alone. In the past, people were limited by their technical equipment. Now, progress is achieving incredible results, and new opportunities imposed more responsibility on humanity. However, do current environmental problems mean that development should be stopped at all? No, it would be a bad decision. Above all, it is necessary to ensure the transition to sustainable development. Also, progress is needed to solve new problems, to overcome new threats that humanity may face in the future. For example, the development of renewable energy technologies is necessary to eliminate dependence on fossil fuels. Therefore, sustainable development strategy is not a strategy to limit economic growth drastically and preserve the natural environment. It is a strategy of human activity aimed to ensure and guarantee its existence and development in the long term by creating a new interaction with the environment. It is also a strategy to create new opportunities for environmental protection based on specially targeted, managed economic growth. The implementation of this strategy involves wide international cooperation in active public participation. In June 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, the commitments of states to achieve sustainable development were defined at the Conference on Environment and Development. The conference resulted in the development of the concept of sustainable development. It is a model of civilization development which is based on the need to maintain a balance between solving social and economic problems and preserving the environment. In December 1992, the United Nations established a special commission on sustainable development. In 1995, the Commission adopted the Program of Work on Sustainable Development Indicators to be used at the national level by countries for strategic decision-making. Sustainable development indicators are divided into 4 groups: social indicators, which include demographic dynamics and development sustainability, education development, and healthcare. Economic indicators, which include changing consumption models, for example. Environmental indicators, which include protection of water resources and drinking water supply, protection of oceans, special approach to land resources management, and atmosphere protection. Institutional indicators, which include information exchange for strategic decision making and integration of environmental principles in decision making. The 5 main contradictions of sustainable development were also identified. These are contradictions between real life and life in harmony with nature. Urbanization has distanced society and nature, but the focus should be on people who have the right to live healthy lives in harmony with nature. Second contradiction is contradiction between real development and environment. Development, as it is now, requires huge natural resources, which contradicts the concept of sustainable development. However, the environmental component should become part of the global development process and cannot be considered in isolation from it. Conflict of interest of present and future generation. Of course, this is a problem. How can we compare the needs of present and future generation people who don't even exist yet? The needs of people today are real, and they must find the optimal balance between concept and people. Contradiction between rich and poor countries and people. Solution: it is necessary to reduce the gap in living standards between countries and people, eliminate hunger and poverty. And economic contradictions. Sustainable development requires excluding production and consumption models that are not conducive to its realization. This is also a challenge for national economies. So, in this lecture, you have learned about the concept of sustainable development, the main indicators and contradictions of sustainable development.